Hello with explorers, thanks for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we salute you and welcome again back to Explorer. It is important for us to continue to talk about the murky collaboration that African countries find themselves at the moment. And it's important for us to know that there's been a huge geopolitical shift in North America, and African countries are facing the tremendous pressure coming from the United States of America, especially with the Donald Trump administration. Mr. Trump, not just being a transactional president, has been an embarrassment for the continent of Africa in a number of areas. It's a leader that came up and he started like a joke, talking about the country of South Africa doing some bad things and lying that the country is committing genocide, which global media have debunked it. It is important for us to know that South Africa does have its own challenges. I have an important video here to play today because we will be looking at the reason why, not just that the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which just completely is dead, and experts saying that the United States of America could renew it. Don't rely on the United States of America. Over and over, I said this here, geopolitics does not come in with emotions. The continent of African nations must stand up strong and ensure that they can be survivors or they can survive on their own. Why am I saying it? I'm saying this because we've seen the consistency. The country of Egypt came under tremendous pressure. South Africa kicked under the bus. More importantly, the country of Ghana and a whole lot of nations across the continent of Africa still believe that the United States of administration at the moment still have their back. I don't think so, because what's happening in South Africa at the moment regards to the AGOA that is dead, and at the moment the impact in terms of the tariffs that the United States of America administration under Mr. Donald Trump has put forward in the continent of Africa. Look at countries like Libya struggling with a huge percentage, and more importantly South Africa alone have been singled out. So if you could put South Africa, the country of Egypt, and a whole lot of other countries that are huge powerful economies in the continent of Africa, Nigeria as also, then you are able to control the narrative. So despite China offering the alternative, Russia, some fringe powers of the European Union that you do not agree with, I think the economy of South Africa at the moment is under tremendous pressure and might be at a break point. So Mr. Donald Trump knows what he's doing, and at the moment the people of South Africa must rally up, come together and figure out what's going on. So this expert is talking about the situation in the country of South Africa and why South African government and officials, consultants, analysts, economists should sit up on the table and know that this moment in history will go down as a period where the country either sank or it wake up and diversify its relationship and move forward, because the United States of America is not as a strategic partner as the country of South Africa's thought. As we've seen the Russian-Ukrainian war, we saw a lot of United States of American senators who came up and pushed this country back and forth. So this is a wake-up call and warning shot to the continent of Africa to wake up at this particular time. To go back to Newzs Room Afrika to look at one of South Africa's own business officials who's going to be elaborating this on a strategic point of view. And we shall be looking at his own perspective and the reason why the country of South Africa is at a crossroad. Let's play this clip.
All right, back with you as indicated. South Africa's trade ties with the United States faces a fresh bout of uncertainty after the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, officially expired. Trade Minister Pax Tau isn't sounding the alarm just yet, as he is banking on a short-term fix from U.S. President Donald Trump's administration to keep goods moving. To reflect on this development, we speak now to the president of the South African Chamber of Commerce in the United States, Neil Diamond. Neil, good to have you here in South Africa as we have this conversation today. Previously, I would have spoken to you over the line. Before we even got to the expiration date, you had expressed concern about how this is going to impact on U.S.-Africa trade. Now, with the indication, I think, Friday of possibly that the Trump administration views an extension of AGOA for another year as something valuable, how does that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable. As you know, and firstly, good afternoon to you and to your viewers. Our organization have warned for quite a while now that South Africa's continuation in AGOA is a concern for us, and the impact of that may more or less be our biggest trade challenge of 2025, even more so than the tariffs. In terms of the South Africa-US relationship, we think that this has come to a space where we are long overdue to restore the relationship. Part of why we are where we are at, even though we are grouped with other sub-Sahara African countries that are eligible for AGOA, is the fact that South Africa has been unable to secure a trade deal with the United States. Now, it is very encouraging that the White House publicly stated that they would favorably consider supporting an extension of 1 year for AGOA. But we do not know if that includes South Africa and whether South Africa will be included in that extension. While all of this is playing out, we also are aware that within the US Congress, there is a bipartisan bill, the South Africa-US Trade Relationship Review Bill of 2025, which seeks to review the overall trade relationship between South Africa and the United States. What concerns us is that you have got very senior members of Congress in the House. We've got Ronnie Jackson, a Republican from Texas, and in the Senate, we've got John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, advancing those bills. These bills have already passed in the very influential Senate Foreign Affairs Committee with a big majority, paving the way for these two bills to find their way to the House floor and to the Senate floor. So we've got a lot of clouds on the horizon. And as business, we are not seeing that government is working towards the solution to support us and to get it resolved. We are taking a new narrative, and that is business beyond politics. As business, we are stepping up, engaging our members, and looking at ways in which we could address some of the concerns that's on the table.
So you are saying far beyond, of course, the shutdown moment currently, if the United States finally they find each other and they pass the funding bill, it's possible that AGOA can be extended for 12 months with other African states and exclude South Africa.
That's exactly what we are saying. Our concern is mainly vested in, will South Africa be eligible, and can we continue to benefit from AGOA in its current format? And if we do benefit, once again, it's only for a 12-month period. So we need to look at contingencies at this very moment. This was not just a mere lapse of a procedure. This is maybe a new low for the US-South Africa trade relationship.
South Africa has become a punching bag for the United States of America from the geostrategic point of view. The Donald Trump administration, President Trump, has decided to cripple the South African economy so far based on tariff. I'm talking from the strategic point of view here. Looking at other areas, is South Africa perfect? Not at all. Are the officials failing to an extent? They are doing so. But to say that there's genocide in the country and talking about that South Africa, a strong member of BRICS and one of the founders and leading player in that economic bloc, and the United States of America's largest trading partner in the continent of Africa, it means the United States does not have partners from the strategic point of view. So I wonder what the country of South Africa should be doing at this moment, because I think that all kinds of discussions and arrangement talking about collaboration, striking some kind of a deal after this particular tariff, it's not working so far. So the United States of America at the moment has put its leg down on the country of South Africa. I think South African farmers and officials to start diversifying their relationship, looking at European partners that you do not agree with. But again, like I said, the continent of Africa should go back to the drawing board and recognize, revive, resuscitate the African Continental Free Trade Area. Despite that particular gap, like the country of Botswana leader spoke about recently, saying that the continent of Africa should try to recover some lost market as a result of what's happening in the United States of America in terms of tariff, to cover up from that particular percentage that the African Growth and Opportunity Act has impacted the continent of Africa. Let's play this clip.
So are you saying that the United States is no longer interested in expanding its commercial interests in South Africa? Maybe in Africa, yes, but not in South Africa anymore. They are no longer seeing South Africa as a valuable place to expand their commercial activity.
I think the US has been very clear, and we've heard that from South African political leaders as well in the economic cluster, that the US has got certain expectations of South Africa, but a lot of that is clouded by the geopolitical environment within which South Africa functions. And even those are matters that we cannot directly address. The reality is the economic relationship has a significant impact on business, especially business between South Africa and the US. In an environment where we do not just export commodities to the US, we export beneficiated products. And that is a very important point. Beneficiated products means that it supports jobs, it supports the economy, it drives economic growth and foreign investment in South Africa. And if that dries up, it would have a significant impact. We know that specific sectors are going to be most hard hit. For instance, the automotive parts and components, agriculture, agro-processed goods, specialized manufacturing, and then textiles. And those are our sectors that mainly create jobs in our economy. I know that NAMASA indicated that we could lose up to 80,000 jobs in the automotive sector. Our own figures indicate between now and 2029, there could be as much as 100,000 jobs being lost. And the Citrus Growers Association has warned that we could lose up to 30,000 jobs. Now, under AGOA, South Africa have grown their exports in fruits and agricultural goods from about 4.5 billion in 2018 to 9.8 billion in 2024, mainly from the Western Cape. But my home province of Mpumalanga is going to feel it just as much, and many other sectors within our country.
Are these the sectors that you've been meeting with now that you've been here in South Africa? Citrus, automobile, agriculture, agro-processing and so forth. And what is their sense in terms of how we should proceed here, whether should be looking at other markets that we could exploit, or South Africa should be pushing harder to retain the US market?
So when we saw the writing was on the wall that AGOA is not going to be renewed by the 30 September deadline, our members pushed for a delegation of US importers and US distributors to come to South Africa to meet with South African growers, producers and manufacturers, so that we could look at a business continuity model. If we lose AGOA, our products are definitely going to be not as attractive in the US market as they may have been before. We're going to erode a lot of value. We're going to see a reduction in margins, and that is bad for business. So we are here so that we can discuss with specific sectors, and a big focus area are textiles, leather shoes, agro-processed goods, South African wines, in terms of what contingency models can we put in place, what business continuity practices can we advance, and what dynamic pricing could we assist with. We need to come up with a plan, going back to the business beyond politics.
Explain that for us so that we understand. So you're saying, for lack of a better word, you're seeking to find a way in which you can bypass the political infighting, right? So business to business, businesses can be able to trade with one another and come up with some kind of pricing structure and continuity.
This is very much like a patient going into the ICU. Sometimes you need to just get them through the first 24 or 48 hours. That's where we are at. We need to get over the next 12 months if we are to be included. And what we are saying is, let's look at how our South African manufacturers, producers and growers can maybe look at some dynamic pricing, add in some of their margin. The exporters, importers can foot some of their margin, and ultimately we can try and see if the US consumer at the end can get more or less the same price, that there's a minimal impact. But if we go from 0 to 30%, it's going to very much adversely affect us. South African goods are highly sought after in the US. Our wine is one of our prestigious products over there. But at 30% more, we are starting to compete with Napa Valley and California.
Are you beginning to see those numbers drop of the South African wine?
What we are seeing is we're seeing that orders are busy drying up, or orders are being placed on hold. And that definitely concerns our members. It also affects us negatively. We are seeing members that are already considering action plans for business rescue, or to place their businesses in what we call Chapter 11 in the United States, so that they can have some bankruptcy protection. Remember, none of us thought that a trade deal would be so elusive as it has remained. And in this regard, we want to congratulate Minister Tau. At least he had a meeting with Jamie Greer in Washington, D.C. So there is progress from 0 to at least meeting. The question is now, are we going to see a trade deal before the end of October? And that's the next critical date that we are looking at.
Why is South Africa South Africa, to an extent, has stood up to the United States of America, whether it's from the Russian-Ukrainian war, more importantly, considering South Africa's own decision at the United Nations Security Council, or the vote that came up sponsored by the United Nations, considering Russian situation with the country of Ukraine. More importantly, recently, South Africa's own decision take the country of Israel to the ICJ, and more importantly, South Africa's own particular decision standing up against the United States of America in several areas from the geostrategic point of view. We saw how Mr. Marco Rubio said the United States foreign policy will be based on United States of America's own interests. That's fair enough. However, if you looked at recently that a former ambassador of the country of South Africa was kicked out from the United States of America unceremoniously on Twitter, which was embarrassing from the strategic point of view. I think these two countries have some beef that hasn't been settled. So the United States of America's administration under Mr. Donald Trump has pinpointed the area of trade to pin down the country of South Africa. That's what we are seeing here. So the government of South Africa should wake up at this time and understand that the United States is not as strategic as they thought, and the fact that they're exporting products to the country of the United States, they should be looking at alternative market because the US is not ready to budge at this time. Let's play this clip.
Is the US shutdown saving grace? Is it buying businesses time, at least, in terms of decisions that need to be made around AGOA?
I think exactly the opposite. If the US was not in a shutdown mode, and the Republicans and Democrats in Congress could come to an agreement to fund the US government, other business could be on the agenda. At the moment, US domestic issues, which is the funding of government, is going to be on the agenda for the foreseeable future up until that's resolved. And only then we will be able to see other matters come to the fore. AGOA is very important to us. But in terms of the United States and their global economic reach, I don't believe it's such a key priority.
It's an important piece of legislation, even if you say so, to the United States in terms of bipartisan support. It's one of those pieces of legislation that has got that type of support. However, there are some who are saying it's not been fully utilized, or at least its value fully realized. What does that mean for Republicans? What does it mean for Democrats? What is it that they want to see being realized?
The United States set out AGOA as a legislative framework to support mainly sub-Saharan Africa to be able to trade duty-free with the United States and almost have a trade replacing aid environment. So the US can utilize their economic might and their huge market to support African trade and therefore assisting economic growth within African countries. So it's a feel-good thing for the guys in the United States, and it definitely has all the right sounds to it. The problem, however, that we're faced with is that in the geopolitical environment at the moment, we've seen a global reset, both of economics and of politics. And now it's a matter of where do countries fit into the relationship with the United States? And who would the United States like to benefit from their economic might and their consumer market as such? And I think that's where it becomes a little bit more tricky and so much more important for us to resolve our issues and for our government to sit down with the United States. Let's be honest, Donald Trump is known as a deal maker. He's the biggest deal maker in the world. We just need to be able to make that deal with him. And I believe our government can, but as business, we can't wait indefinitely. We need to put our own contingencies in place.
Talking about that deal making, there's some who says, look, the impact of the fallout of this particular US-Africa or South Africa in particular trade deal could also reflect in terms of the jobs numbers, not just in South Africa, but also in the United States. And that could be part of a concern for the United States players to at least put enough pressure to bring everybody to the table and put a deal in place.
Absolutely. South Africa, sub-Saharan Africa as a region, but South Africa specifically, is a major contributor to US food security. Annually, we have approximately 15,000 temporary agricultural workers that work in the United States. They support industries further downstream that process those agricultural goods and get them onto shops' shelves, fuel their economy, fuel consumer good purchases. So it will definitely have an impact. And that's why, as a business organization, we've encouraged our members to engage on sub-national level. What does that mean? The doors in Washington, D.C. seem to be closed to South Africa. So we said, let's engage with our Republican and Democrat representatives and senators in states where South Africa has got a strong presence in business, and at least make them aware of the role that we play as South Africans and as a South African economy within the United States. And we hope that that would at least bring some form of a change in view. At the moment, the view is not positive. And we know that we've been reporting on it for the entire year. But we need to look at business beyond politics.
Right.
We'd like to take hands with government, but at the same time, government has not fully engaged us. The South African government specifically.
I was coming to that. I want to say, fine.
Why South Africa is so important? It's important because it's one of the big voices across the continent of Africa and a major player in the global south. South Africa recently have seen the United States of America's administration calling them all sorts of names, and more importantly, diving into some specifics with regards to accusing the country that it is practicing genocide. But it's not true. We saw the United States of America's Secretary of State, Mr. Marco Rubio, refuse to attend the G20 heads of a foreign ministry meeting that took place in South Africa recently. And more importantly, make no mistake, South Africa will be handing over the G20 to the country of the United States of America. And the current president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, who is also facing internal challenges in the country of the United States, has also not indicated pretty clear if he will be attending the particular meeting in the country of South Africa. Again, South Africa should wake up at this time, because other countries across the region are observing the closeness and the behavior of the United States towards the country of South Africa. If the major player like South Africa, with a solid economy in terms of considering other countries across the region, can be pushed back and forth, then what do you expect from small countries like Malawi, South Sudan, and a whole lot of other countries like Eswatini? These countries will be begging. I want to thank you for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you think with regards to the decision by the country of the United States under Mr. Donald Trump, making it clear that they are not waving when South Africa is concerned. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon. Have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.